Yoo-hoo, SWU CUBE here, talking leader evaluation. So I figured this is a timely topic now that we have started to see spoilers for set two and have the starter leaders. So just quick setting the table here. We got in set one, Spark of Rebellion, 18 cubable leaders. That's 16 in the base set and two pre-release promo slash starter deck leaders. Uh, I'm guessing that that's going to be the format we see moving forward now that we have starter deck leaders already spoiled. So that means, you do the math, by the end of this year, we will have, we'll be spoiled for choice and have 54 possible leaders to choose from. I'm guessing that's too many for most of our cubes. As we design custom cubes that stray away from just set cube simulation, we'll have to start making some difficult decisions on what leaders to include, what leaders to cut, because I doubt that many of us will want to have that many leaders in our environment. Maybe so, but I think supporting them adequately will be difficult. And if you don't support a leader well and a player gets stuck with it, it's just a feel bad, right? You don't want someone pulling a Grand Moff Tarkin in a cube that runs like four Imperials, right? It just creates a terrible situation for that player, and then they won't want to play your cube again, and then you're sad because we do this because we like to play cube with people. Anyway, I digress. Let's start talking about Moff Gideon. Uh, I was pumped to see this design. Great leader. He requires minimal support in that you just want to build a deck that has a lot of cheap units. Newsflash, that's just part of the game. No matter how you design your cube, there are going to be cheap units, right? This guy doesn't rely on Imperial synergy. He doesn't rely on color or faction synergy like Vader does. Simply just need cheap units. And he's great. And he encourages fun. What's at least I've never played with him yet, but apparently unique styles of deck building and gameplay. So I think this leader is fantastic and is going to easily end up in many cubes. The Mandalorian, on the other hand, a little bit more limited. You need to have a substantial amount of upgrades to make this leader play well. Now, I haven't play tested him. I don't know what that number is, but my gut is that you probably want more upgrades in your cube than we saw spoiled with Spark of Rebellion. Uh, so that's a significant cube design restriction, right? In order to include the Mandalorian, your cube has to have the requisite amount of upgrades. I don't know what that number is yet, but it's there. And that's a question that we'll have to answer. Now, I think the design is cool. I want to play with this leader. I think I will be, I'm going to start off with a Shadow of the Galaxy set cube, and this guy's going in. So I will get reps with him. But as I move away from the set cube and design a custom limited environment, uh, I'm uncertain whether or not Mandalorian will make it. We'll see as more cards are spoiled. I'm going to move on and talk about a few leaders we have already, just to kind of open up some topics to think about as we move into more spoilers and start to see future leaders. Hera. She is probably the weakest leader that we've seen so far from a cube perspective. Now, on power level, she may be slightly stronger than IG-88. I'll leave that one. You guys can argue about that in the comments if you want. But um, Hera's only reason for existing is to promote Spectre synergy. The Spectres are a relatively small card pool. Without them all included in a cube, there's no reason to run Hera. And she's also fairly weak. Even with that, I suspect that unless we see a massive amount of future Spectres, that Hera will find herself on the sidelines of most cube lists once we get a couple sets into the future. Cherit is one of my favorite leaders in set one. He's a blast to play. He really feels unique, and he promotes some really interesting lines of play. Um, I have, he's in my cube, right? But I have yet to build a powerful and satisfying Cherit deck. He's extremely hard to pull off. This to me strikes as a leader that is designed for constructed, over limited, and just quite simply, it's just really hard to pull off. The cards exist, but you kind of have to, like, in a draft pool, you want to make sure you get a Jedi lightsaber, um, Luke's lightsaber, a couple forces with me's, and my cube only runs two of those anyway. So it's a big ask. You can certainly live the dream. It's possible. I still hope to do it, but I doubt that Cherit will have a long tenure in Cube as a leader. Leia is an example of a leader that is extremely powerful but requires a ton of support. Now, I did a video on this, a cube design theory video on this topic, so I'll be brief here. But basically, Leia requires a substantial portion of your cube units to be rebels to work, right? As a leader, she's best in a deck that is 100% rebel. She can function in a deck that's maybe 3/4 rebel, but if only half of the units in your deck are rebels, she's going to be an iffy leader. So moving forward, while Leia is absolutely one of my favorite leaders, I suspect we may see her cut from cubes as well because she requires such substantial support. Now, the last leader I want to talk today about is Palpatine. And Palpatine's a tough leader to pull off in Limited. He requires 8 resources. I have found that in order to make him work, you really want to be drafting mana acceleration in the form of super laser tech and resupply, right? If you can't get those cards, hopefully in multiples, this is a tough ask, right? Not getting your leader until turn 8 when most leaders are dropping on turn 5 or 6. However, in a cube environment, I love leaders like Palpatine because they really help push players to draft control, right? In a standard limited, like if you're going to the store buying boosters, opening those boosters and doing a draft, typically the decks will range from like really fast mid-range to really slow mid-range, right? It's really difficult to pull off, full like hilt deep aggro and hard control in a limited environment. It does happen from time to time. And Palpatine's one of the reasons that works, right? He provides that carrot. But as a cube designer, we are able to design our cubes in a way that promotes a greater diversity of play patterns and deck styles. And leaders like Palpatine are one of the primary ways that I think we're going to be able to do that, of providing those goals and powerful payoffs